And welcome once again to Flashpoints. I'm Bob Orr. Joining me as he always does is Juan Zarate. He's our national security analyst. Juan, it's always good to see you.
Bob, great to see you.
So what's going on here with the leadership of ISIS? There are all these rumors out there that perhaps the United States targeted Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the leader.
Well, you're seeing an evolution of the airstrikes that the U.S. is bringing to bear against ISIS. Initially, as you saw, we were hitting sites around key infrastructure like the Mosul Dam and oil infrastructure. Now, clearly, our intelligence is improving and our strategy is beginning to wrap around the idea of hitting the leadership hard and consistently. And so now you've seen reports over the past weekend of key leaders, perhaps even Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, being hit, perhaps outside of Mosul, perhaps in some of the airstrikes in Anbar. But whether or not he was killed, the important point here is that we're beginning to get better intelligence and information about the leadership, and we're more strategically going after that leadership to affect the movement.
Now, the first rumors about a possible hit were on Saturday, but it's been a couple of days now, and nothing has really come to the fore. What do you make of that?
Well, there's a lot of confusion because you had the reports of a strike on Friday of a convoy outside of Mosul. Then you had reports over the weekend from Iraqis saying that he was hit in a safe house somewhere in Anbar, western Iraq. And so the reports are muddled here. That suggests to me that, like other strikes we've seen in the past, you know this well, Bob, you've reported on this, western Pakistan, Somalia, it's often very hard to get ground truth on who we've hit and how effective a strike has been, especially if we don't have control of the territory, especially if we're not doing DNA testing, for example. So it may be very difficult to find the ground truth out here shortly, and at the end of the day, it may be the group itself that admits the death of a leader. But we haven't seen that from the Islamic State, and we certainly haven't seen some of the natural ripple effects you would anticipate. So it may be that he's still alive.
Okay, whether we got him or not, talk to me a little bit about the importance of targeting the leadership. Why, in this particular case, is that critical?
Well, the leadership for a movement like this is critical for a couple of reasons. One, they're fighting a multi-front war, in essence. They're trying to hold territory throughout Iraq and in Syria and have different enemies that they're trying to fight off. That requires leadership. They've got some of that military expertise from some of the former Ba'athist generals. They've got some of it from some key foreign fighters. But you need a leader to guide a fighting force like that. In addition, this is a caliphate. This is supposed to be a governing theocracy, and the leader matters. The caliph matters symbolically, theologically, and in terms of its posture globally. And so if the leader's gone, there's going to not only be an internal battle, but also a question as to the legitimacy of the caliphate itself. And so going after the leadership is intended to confuse the battle space, create internal tension, and also create a crisis of legitimacy outward that then allows you to further consolidate support, for example, in the Sunni Arab tribes.
How deep is the bench strength for ISIS? Because in Al-Qaeda, as we would pick off the number 3, number 4 guy, Al-Qaeda, they'd just bring up somebody from the farm team and kind of fill in the management ranks. My sense is this is a less developed, less mature organization.
Yeah, and the bench is not deep for the kind of leader you would need to fill the role of a caliph. So if Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is no longer on the scene, who takes his role? Because it's not just somebody who can lead the movement and lead the charge to attack Mosul or attack certain sites. It's who can bring the legitimacy as the leader of this caliphate and who has the credentials both theologically and among the troops, so to speak. That bench is not deep, and some of those individuals who could step up are either Ba'athists or also foreign fighters who may not have the local credentials that Abu Bakr does. And so this would be a real crisis moment for the movement. It wouldn't be the end of it, clearly, but it would be a crisis movement in terms of its leadership. Someone would step up, but there would be internal fighting, as we've seen often, for example, in western Pakistan when we've hit Pakistani Taliban leaders.
So as we wrap up then briefly, it's a good bet we're going to continue to go after, if we can, the leadership.
Absolutely. What you're trying to do is hit the supply lines, hit the leadership, reduce the space that they have to operate, and if you can force them to think more about their survival as opposed to their planning, you're starting to get on the offensive and they're starting to lose.
It's one we will watch. Juan, thanks as always.
Thanks, Bob.
And thanks to you for watching Flashpoints. I'm Bob Orr. We'll see you next time.